What is up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here. Today we are going to be talking about what happens when you want to travel. You want to travel, you want to take your disc with you. What should you think about? What should you consider? This is my go-to guide for traveling in disc golf. Oh, you guys thought that I was going to forget about saying good, like a hello to someone? Oh, yeah. Joke's on you, because the most important question of the day, how you doing, Sam? You having a good one?
So catch me if I fall.
All right, so you are going on a trip. You're going on a family vacation. You're going on a work trip, a business trip, whatever it may be. And you're wondering, should I pack some discs? Should I take my whole disc golf bag? What should I do about this? Or maybe even perhaps you're going on like a disc golf trip, which is sort of its own thing. So we'll talk about that first and work from there, because I think that this more so the heart of this video applies to kind of everyone else. Let's talk about your disc golf bag. Most disc golf bags count as a carry-on item. I think for lots of people, I've traveled with a multitude of disc golf bags at this point. I would say of like the major hitters, the only two that I haven't actually flown with are a pound bag and a squatch bag. But both of those, I think this is very equivalent in size to a squatch bag, and I've traveled with it multiple times, flown with it multiple times, and it's worked out just fine. Some of the pro tips that I give you is that make sure your putter pouch is sealed up, make sure all the extra accoutrement hanging off are there, and then most importantly, retriever. It's not coming on the plane with you. I just want to go ahead and let you know that. Take it out of the bag before you start flying, before you start doing all those things, because if you try to fly with a giant metal stick, it's not going to go well. Also, as a secondary note, if you are traveling with your disc golf stuff, just leave a couple extra minutes for getting stopped in security. I would say in all the times that I've flown with my bag, I probably have about an 80 to 85% success rate in terms of success being I get stopped. I guess if you want to consider that success. An 85% hit rate, that's probably the better words. Just because you're flying with a bag full of weird plastic circles, it's gonna look different on their radar. And then when you have something like a chalk bag mixed in, that usually gets it flagged in a way that people are gonna stop. And just make sure you check the side pockets, because I know for me personally, I over time have had things like food and snacks that end up inside here, or my water bottles haven't been emptied. These are all things that you need to take precautions for, but you can fly with your bag very comfortably. Now, if you are going on a trip and you're going for a specific reason to play disc golf, or you're going on for a different reason, the most important thing besides discs that I think you can make sure you have packed, make sure that you have Udisc downloaded on your phone. Udisc being U, just the letter U, D-I-S-C. It is, I truly believe, one of the best apps in disc golf, if not the best app in disc golf. One really cool thing about Udisc is not only does it give you the opportunity to have scorecards, but it has a course directory that kind of shows you courses all over. You can pull out your phone, you can look and see how many courses are around you in the surrounding area, or you can search for, hey, I'm going to be going to this city. Are there courses nearby that I maybe should bring discs for? For instance, my family is currently visiting North Georgia, and I knew that we were going to be in a rural part of the state in a lake area, and I wondered what courses were around. And we ended up noticing that there was one pitch and putt that's pretty fantastic, and then there was a vineyard, a little winery, that also has a course on it. So packing some discs felt like the right choice, but I was able to look up on Udisc before even coming to the area that existed. And then once I get to the area, inside of Udisc itself, you can just click the course, and then you can say get directions and choose Apple Maps or Waze. And when you do that, it'll just take you straight to the course. And most of them are actually dialed into where the disc golf course actually starts. I know a lot of state parks and local parks and things like that, the disc golf course is kind of tucked away in a certain part, and you're wondering, how do I get there? I can see signage, but maybe the signage isn't that great in the overall park. Lots of times Udisc does a fantastic job of getting you to the actual course and where hole 1 is supposed to start. Plus, in a situation like this course, where there is some signage that's pretty clear on some holes, but then other holes, there isn't maybe as much signage, such as like here, this is hole 6 for the course. There's a long pad, there's a short pad. I know it's hole 6 because hole 5 is right there, and I can see the 6 on the basket over yonder. But if the course doesn't have this clear markage, Udisc also has a GPS feature where you can pull it up and it'll show you sort of this is where the hole that you're supposed to be on is, and you can see your GPS marker and walk with it to make sure you're on the tee box. Now, this isn't just an advertisement for Udisc, trust me. I believe in Udisc, and they didn't even sponsor this video. That's just how much I believe in them, that I want to pump that company up as much as I possibly can. If you're gonna be packing discs, you want to make sure that you're bringing the right amount of discs, and maybe you bring your whole bag because that's what you feel comfortable with and you have a free carry-on. I know personally, if I'm not traveling with, let's say, an iPad or any electronics, like I just want some extra accessories and things, I can usually bring my disc golf bag because I can empty one side of the side pockets and I can store a lot of things in there that I normally would use in a standard backpack anyways. Like a book, headphones, or things like that can easily fit in these side compartments. Now, I also run a podcast over on the Foundation Podcast Network called In the Bag, where we have sort of adjusted the format, but one thing we do a lot is help people sort of dive through their bags, talk about weaknesses in their bag and how we can attack them. And a really fun thing we've done in the format change is people keep giving us prompts on how to build minimalist bags. So I want to take you through my bag, which currently has 25 discs in it currently with, definitely not that many molds. But how would I pare it down into a 10 disc bag, and how would I pare it down into a 5 disc bag if I was trying to travel with the bag, so that you can sort of take this same approach and hit these slots for your bag. Now, obviously, this all depends on the courses you're going to play. If you know you're going to play a longer course, you might want to adjust this accordingly. But I like to think about it in terms of what are the most important pieces and moving from there. So I'm always going to make sure that I am trying to pack a putting putter if I'm bringing the 10 disc bag, because I'm going to need the putting putter. It brings me the most confidence. It brings me comfort in so many different areas. The next disc that's guaranteed going to be coming with me is my overstable putt and approach disc. Right now, that's going to be a Zone Ringer GT. It's going right on top. I love this because I think on it gives me a lot of forehand options, gives me backhand reliable hyzers, and on 250 and in foot holes, this is going to be absolutely perfect. Now, staying in the mid-range, staying in the putter throwing area, if I'm trying to keep this 10 disc bag, then I'm going to add in a straight throwing putter that I can get pretty decent distance out of. Now, currently, that's going to be Precious Child. I'm going to take Precious Child with me in case something, I have the opportunity to throw it. It's probably my farthest flying putter currently, but it's also my most understable putter. So that's neither here nor there. That could probably be substituted out for Straight Pig, and we just have a straight, reliable shot that I can throw forehand, I can throw backhand. Here we go. Now, moving on to mid-ranges. Mid-ranges, I want something, and most of these I'm going to try to tackle an overstable and an understable option as I'm moving through. So for the understable option, I'm going to end up pulling out this base plastic dune from Trash Panda. I like it because it's going to give me turnover options that feel really solid in case, hey, I need to have a forehand distance push, but I don't necessarily have that on me. That's going to be really solid. And then I'm actually going to end up putting a buzz out there for my straight to overstable. With this buzz, it's a neutral to overstable mid, so you can just do so many different things with that disc. Now, we're at 5 right here, and I think this is a solid 5 in itself, but let's just keep going and walking up the line. Now, understable fairway driver. Understable fairway driver, I'm gonna go with the Cicada because I think that what's beautiful about the Cicada, I can throw the Cicada on hyzer and watch it stand up to flat. I can throw a flat and watch it turn for me the whole time. This is just a super far flying disc that does a lot of really great work. And then for the overstable, I'm going with the Sagara and the Z Swirl. Now, this is where I'm going to sort of push back against the system a little bit because I have 1, 2, 3 putters, I have 2 mids, I have 2 fairway drivers, so that brings me up to 7 discs. Now, I know that I'm going to want probably a distance driver, so before I start adding any extra clarifications, I'm going to lean in and try to find the distance driver that I want to lean on the most. Right now, it's going to be this Wraith in the Star Plastic. I can throw it on forehand. I can't really jam it on forehand, but I can throw it forehand, backhand. It's great distance, and that is 8 discs right there. What 2 discs do I want to bring in to sort of round the bag out? what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna end up grabbing an overstable in case I have big booming forehands. I'm gonna grabbing an overstable Halo Destroyer and putting it with me. And then I'm also going to look at bringing the trail. Now, the trail is a cheat code distance disc. I think this is really fun. This gives me control of a fairway driver, but it also gives me the distance of a distance driver. Really fantastic. Forehanding the trail for me personally can be really difficult, but I can understand for lots of folks how this disc can just do so much for me. So this would be my rounded approach. Now, what I don't have here is I don't have an overstable 9-speed. And I think the reason for that is that because these two drivers, I'm going to be able to sort of control and have that distance push. And if I need that, I also have the Sagara that I can forehand. And then of course I have my zones and things like that. This is the 10 disc bag that I'm using. You can see that it's sort of walking. I don't have a lot of neutral discs. I've got an understable disc and an overstable disc moving up at each speed. This is really helpful for me, but you can imagine that this is still a lot of discs to bring. So how would I pare this down to bring 5 discs to make it even easier to take less space in my bag? So glad you asked. So if I had to include 5 discs that I'm taking with me, once again, honestly, it's going to be a putting putter. I think for some people, if you're really trying to minimalize this, you can bring a putting putter that you're willing to throw. I don't throw my putting putters because I don't love for them to get nicks and little cuts in them and things like that. So if that's going to be an issue for you, I think that you can easily just bring a premium throwing putter, or feel comfortable if you really want to lean into it and you're trying to minimalize, just a putter that you can throw and putt with. But I like my putting putter. It's important to me to have that sort of confidence. And I, even on a small trip, don't want to get frustrated or pick up a hitch in my putt because I switched to an entirely different putter for a week or 2 weeks or however long I'm traveling for. Which means that sticking in the putter category, I'm actually going to toss the straight throwing putter because I think that while it's nice, it's still just not as needed. I'm gonna keep the zone, I'm gonna keep this overstable putt and approach disc, because if I don't have the right discs to get the shot shape I'm looking for, I'm gonna end up with a lot more approaches than I might normally have if I had my whole bag. And because of that, having my approach disc, my go-to approach disc, is gonna be really clutch here. So putters are taking up 2 of my 5 slots, and I think that's important because we, drive for show, putt for dough. I do think that lots of disc golf comes down to being a putting contest and your ability to close out the hole. These are fantastic in ensuring that that is going to happen for me. Now, mid-ranges. Do I need the understable mid? Do I need this? I actually, funny enough, in these two, I'm going to stick with the Buzz. That Buzz is that neutral workhorse mid-range that's going to allow me to have the comfort that I'm looking for in order to sort of push distance thresholds. So I can do a lot with it. I can throw it on Anheuser. It may not turn near as much, but if I need that turnover option, then I really can lean in just forehanding my zone and get that movement to that side. So I have to understand when I'm minimalizing that I'm just not gonna have every single exact shot covered, but going with something that I can work, it's gonna be perfect for that. So we're gonna go with the Buzz. Moving up to the drivers. So we've got 2 slots left and we have a boatload of options available to us. So how are we going to tackle this? I'm gonna tackle this by sticking with the trail. I want an easy distance disc that gets that distance in a multitude of ways, and that's what you're looking for. What disc? It's not necessarily like, hey, I'm taking the super overstable driver that when I throw it, I have to like crazy flex line it and whatever I'm doing in order to get this. What I love about the trail is that it can be thrown on hyzer and extend with flat. It can just throw it flat and have some turn to it and come back, whatever it may be. The trail really is such a versatile disc and how it's tackling things. And so I'm excited to have the trail in the bag, and it's definitely coming on the journey with me in case I have to open up for a hole, in case I need to like be a very touchy flip up forehand. This is where the trail is going to try to shine. Which means for that 4th slot or that 5th slot, what are we looking for? Well, let's think about what are we currently missing. We have a distance shot. That's fantastic. We have our short range covered, and we have really up to about 300 feet covered on backhand. On forehand, we're gonna be a little dicier, a little touchier. And so for my game, because I have a forehand, I want a disc that I can comfortably forehand over and over again. That if it becomes a forehand heavy course without me realizing it, that I'm gonna have an option that I can lean into and get some distance out of, or get some push. But maybe I don't want the most overstable forehand disc in the world, but also I want controlled forehands for that 300-foot range, because I can power down on the trail and get some distance out of it, or I can sort of power up on the buzz to try to put some distance out of it. So funny enough, in the pure minimalist bag, I'm actually not going with any of these 4 options. I'm instead gonna go with just a nice stock Star Destroyer. This is not a very overstable destroyer. It's not a very understable destroyer. It was incredibly neutral for a destroyer, but I don't really plan on having to throw it backhand too often, but it does create that distance potential. So for me, the reason that I'm going with a distance driver versus a fairway driver, I think is the most interesting decision of really this mold minimal bag that I'm realizing is a lot of purple. This purple's pretty great. It's a versatility play. That's what it comes down to. It's a versatility play for what can a fairway driver do. Okay, it's gonna go these distances controlled, and I can put more on it, and it's gonna have sort of a natural built-in governor that stops it at certain distances. Whereas going with the bigger rim distance driver is going to be harder to control on some shorter distances. But if I end up not actually needing those distance shots, then I can allow myself the freedom to have bigger distance shot potential. But also, you can always take a shorter needed line and make it longer with the right disc. Because really, this slot comes down to, do I want the felon or do I want a destroyer? So if I have to throw it 300 feet and throw a forehand 300 feet, then I can throw my felon and know that it's going to crash out at that 300-foot range pretty easily, because that's like my starting point for felon range, and I can push it there. But the destroyer is going to have a little bit more push, a little bit more distance. Now that tree's in the way, right? So what I can do is I can either try to just come off of the power of the destroyer a little bit, or you can make things a little more complicated, a little more fun for you, and try to go up and around, try to add distance. What I like here is that by using this, I picked the only obstacle standing in the way, right? And I tried to go up and around it. It didn't work, but if we walk up there and look, well, I bet they ended up in similar spots. My destroyer that went through the tree, followed up by the felon that hit nothing. We can add distance in a multitude of ways. We can add distance by leaning into the fact that this is a faster disc and trying to come in and flex it to add some distance that way. We can add it by pushing that distance on wider lines, things like that. But I would rather have more distance potential than I need when I don't know where I'm traveling than have a limit and wish that, hey, I could push this. So because this can cover this one's shots, even though it makes it harder, this one can do shots that the other cannot. The last 2 things that I'll make sure that you think about when you're traveling for disc golf that get forgotten, because we spent a lot of time talking about the discs you're gonna wanna bring. Download Udisc, right? 2 majorly important factors that I think most people don't think about, and I have actually made 2 disc golf specific trips and I forgot one of these items on the trip. The first is you're gonna need towels. You're gonna make sure that you wanna bring a towel with you, whether you just take one from the hotel room or what it may be. You don't know what the conditions of the course are gonna be like. Today, it rained yesterday, but it's been super sunny all morning, so I would have thought that this course would have been perfectly clean. But there's moisture all over because it's really humid outside, so we didn't get the chance to really dry everything up. Thankfully, I have towels to dry things off so that I'm not just absolutely ruined. And hey, I finally got the chance to go play this really cool course that was nearby that I'm traveling to, and I hated my experience because I couldn't grip a disc and hold on to it. which takes me to the last one, which is shoes. You're gonna wanna make sure that you bring shoes that you feel comfortable disc golfing in. I think so often we just like, hey, I normally play in my Bessies, or I normally play in other shoes, right? And you get used to playing in those, and then the first time you go play with regular tennis shoes on, you feel like you're slipping all over the pad, feel like you're slipping everywhere. Now, for those of you who don't play and maybe disc golf specific shoes, or have a pair of disc golf shoes you use, this is a non-issue for you. But I would just warn you, if you are someone who normally does not play in standard tennis shoes, before you travel, go play a round in the shoes that you're planning to wear when you go travel, so that you at least know what it feels like and if it's worth packing the extra pair of shoes for your trip. I promise, you will not regret taking your footwear seriously for your disc golf journey. Okay, so that is gonna wrap it up for this video and traveling for disc golf. I hope that that little 5-disc bag checklist is helpful for you if you're considering traveling. And if you're not considering traveling, I think it's a fun challenge itself. If you were to break your bag down into 10 discs, what would those 10 discs be? And if you were to take that 10 and break it to 5, what would that list be? Would love to see those in the comments down below. And I wonder what will be the most common denominator bag or disc bagged across the 10 and the 5s, whether it be the specific mold or the specific type of disc. I wonder if there's a world, guys, that we do maybe like a giveaway over it in the bag with the most common disc in the breakdown bags. What do you guys think about that? I don't know. Hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Please make it fantastic for someone else too. For those of you traveling, travel safely, enjoy. But for now, we're gonna leave you with the birdie.